I'm actually gonna tell a true story this time, but last year in November, I visited South Korea and went on a tour to the DMZ, which is basically as close as you can get to North Korea. However, the tour guide told us that we weren't allowed to take any photos of North Korea, even though it was literally in front of us, because apparently North Korean snipers would start shooting tourists if people kept posting photos of North Korea on social media. So naturally, I was pretty scared, but at the same time, I was sort of thinking, realistically, if you got stuck in North Korea, how hard would it actually be to escape? How would you escape North Korea? The 7 choices by Kento Bento.
The North Korean government refuses to let its citizens leave, a clear violation of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, viewing escapees as traitorous criminals who, if caught, would be subject to unimaginable torture and often public executions. If they are successful in their escape, then 3 to 4 generations of their family back home would be sent to prison camps to rot.
So basically, your children, your grandchildren, and your great-grandchildren will have to live their entire lives in jail. So your grandchildren will be born in jail, and your great-grandchildren will be born and die in jail as well. I always knew North Korea was pretty hardcore, but when I went to South Korea for the first time, and I literally saw how afraid everyone in South Korea was of North Korea, that's when I realized, yeah, okay, these guys might be legit. So you guys probably think this is a lie? No, I can guarantee 100% this is true.
But this still doesn't stop desperate North Koreans from tempting fate. In this video, I'll go over the 7 ways to escape North Korea, including the most dangerous, the most unforgiving, the most unique, and the most unexpected. We'll start with what seems the most obvious choice, crossing the Korean DMZ. That's the Korean demilitarized zone that separates North and South Korea.
So this is where I went. So when I went to South Korea, we went all the way up to here. So this is where you can sort of see over across to North Korea, and you're not allowed to take any photos or anything, which is kind of weird. But they said that there was an incident a few months prior where a sniper shot at one of the speakers that was in the South Korea side of the DMZ. Because basically, if you don't know what was happening, so basically last year, yeah, it's kind of hard to believe. I didn't believe it at first, but basically on the South Korean side, they're blasting K-pop music all the way so that it reaches North Korea so that they can sort of hear it. So it's sort of like South Korea propaganda all the way to North Korea. And then North Korea, they're sending over weather balloons filled with trash and rubbish to South Korea. But yeah, they were legit, I could hear they were blasting K-pop music for some reason from South Korea all the way to North Korea. And then the North Korea sniper shot one of the speakers that was playing the music.
Those who know little about Korea might think, why not just cross here? The 250-kilometer DMZ is the most heavily militarized border in the world, guarded by almost 2 million troops on both sides. If you try to escape this way, you're likely to either step on a landmine, get electrocuted, or be gunned down in cold blood.
And that's why this is probably the worst way to get out of North Korea. If you try to escape North Korea through the DMZ, there's a 0% chance you're getting through. Because they have soldiers all across there. So you're not going to slip past them. And also the tour guide told me that there are so many landmines in the DMZ that it will take at least 100 years to actually clear them away. So even if you don't get shot by a soldier, you're 100% going to end up accidentally stepping on a landmine.
This is the most dangerous way to escape North Korea. But that doesn't mean it's impossible. Under these conditions, civilians just about never make it across safely. And that's why almost all successful DMZ crossings are from North Korean soldiers who are actually supposed to be guarding the border. This is not the route to take for the average North Korean. But perhaps traveling by sea is a more acceptable option. In the last 40 years, some North Korean families have attempted to make the journey by boat to South Korea. With no passport, visa, or money, South Korea is the most logical destination, as the South Korean government welcomes all North Korean refugees with open arms.
But I wonder what North Korea thinks of people who are seeking refuge from South Korea. What if someone from South Korea tries to escape from South Korea to go into North Korea? Will North Korea welcome them with open arms as well?
It's the easiest way to overall safety and security. Now, if you're escaping by sea, you can either leave from the west coast or the east coast. If you leave from somewhere here, it is geographically and navigationally easier. But since the government is well aware of that, you're likely to be caught by their naval patrols. Up here, you can try a different route, a safer one perhaps, further out to sea. Except, it's not really safer. The seas are unpredictable and many things can go wrong. Remember, you're dirt poor and you're probably on a small flimsy boat with no real navigational equipment.
And so that's why if I was to escape North Korea by sea, all you have to do is just stick to the coast. You gotta go upwards over here. You gotta go backwards to go forward. So you gotta go up North Korea. Just stay along the coast, because when you're along the coast, it won't be treacherous. The waters only get choppy when you're in the middle of nowhere, where there's no land anywhere. So of course this area, this is gonna be the worst place to go through. But if you just stick to the coast, you just go along here. Maybe it will take you it'll literally take you 9 months to like get to South Korea. Like you could literally birth a baby in the time it takes you to get to South Korea, but at least you'll be there safe. Like you just go up the coast over here, up, and then go around the side, and then you go like over here. What country is this? Is this China? And then you go from here down to South Korea, because North Korea will only guard like this area, I think.
The current could take you back to North Korea, or you could end up in China, perhaps equally as bad.
Is that is that really equally as bad? I mean, honestly, I would much rather end up in China than North Korea. Like any day of the week, I think I would much rather like live in China compared to North Korea. I would just try to escape to China. Like I wouldn't even bother trying to go to South Korea. Like my only goal is to escape from North Korea. And the easiest route would be to just go straight to China.
North Korean defectors are considered illegal economic migrants in China, and with the two countries being allies, those captured would be repatriated back to a life of horror.
Okay, well that changes things. I mean, okay, I had no idea they were allies. Okay, so maybe I wouldn't try to escape to China.
So maybe try departing from the East Coast. Here the conditions are more dangerous in a way.
Yeah.
But unlike the West Coast, if you drift too far, you'll reach the safety of Japan. And the Japanese are not going to send you back to North Korea. You're free to carry on. To avoid being spotted by North Korean patrols, you can always try swimming to South Korea.
Bro, did this guy really just say we can try to swim from North Korea to South Korea? I'm not Michael Phelps. There's no way I'm going to be swimming in the ocean for like 10 kilometers. I'll probably drown at like the 1 kilometer mark. 1 kilometer is literally 20 laps in a 50-meter pool. Have you ever tried swimming 20 laps in a 50-meter pool? I've only tried doing that twice, and both times I did it, I needed a break like midway. So there's no way you're going to be swimming from North Korea to South Korea. I think the safest option is to just get the boat to Japan. You could just stay in Japan, honestly. Like you just go to Japan and you go down here to Hiroshima down here. Then you go up down here to Busan, I think, over here.
To avoid being spotted by North Korean patrols, you can always try swimming to South Korea. Not really recommended, as you'll probably freeze or drown, but if you're a strong swimmer, you might have a chance. Now the next three...
You might have a chance? Do you see how far this is? If you can zoom out and see two countries on a map in the same frame, that means this is probably at least 1,000 kilometers. Let's do the maths on this. Okay, you can see all my marked locations, because like this is when I went on holiday to South Korea. I went into all these like random places in here. But anyways, he's saying to go down from up here to down here. So from up here to down here. And what is the scale? So the scale is down here on the bottom right corner of the screen. So this is 100 kilometers. So that's like maybe 2 centimeters on my screen. And this looks like 4 centimeters on my screen. So this is 200 kilometers. So he wants you to swim 200 kilometers from North Korea to South Korea. I mean, if you can do that, fair play. Fair play. You deserve to escape North Korea to go to South Korea if you can swim 200 kilometers without a break. Because where are you meant to have a break? There's no land here. You have to do 200 kilometers non-stop.
Now the next three all start off the same way, by crossing the northern border into China. It's less risky than the DMZ, but that's like saying Kim Jong-il is less cruel than Kim Jong-un. Both options suck. Nonetheless, up here you have the choice of crossing either the Yalu River or the Tumen River. This is the border between North Korea and China.
But I thought you said
Tumen River
China's
is the more popular route
to go
as
into.
it is generally an easier crossing point. But even so, most don't make it across alive. Dead bodies are often seen floating downstream. North Korean Border Patrol also maintain a significant presence in the area. Guards will shoot you at will if they see you escaping, and many even hide underground, pointing their guns upwards through holes, waiting for the opportune time to surprise you with a shower of bullets. Now, if you make it to China without dying or being caught, life doesn't get much easier. We already know that the Chinese authorities can arrest you and send you back at any time. But there's also the chance of being kidnapped for human trafficking. Many North Korean escapees get caught up in this black market trade. Men are sold as slaves, and women are often forced into prostitution.
Okay, so maybe going to China is definitely not an ideal route. Can we just like cross China off the list? Like, I don't think anything to do with China and escaping from North Korea is a good idea.
Or if lucky, they'd be sold as wives to Chinese villagers living deep in the countryside. I say lucky because many women in this situation actually consider themselves fortunate. There's now a roof over their head and food on the table, an upgrade from life in North Korea. Those who aren't trafficked have to adapt to life in the slums and on the run. They can't get a job legally, and there's no medical care. It's quite possible that if you get sick or injured, you just die on the streets. Not surprisingly, for many escapees, China isn't supposed to be the endgame. It's obviously not sustainable. South Korea is still the intended destination for the reasons I've already mentioned. So if possible, it would seem to make sense to head to the South Korean embassy to seek asylum, or the office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, both in Beijing.
Oh, that's
but once again,
very
it's not
far
that
inland.
easy. The Chinese police often stake out the South Korean embassy and the UNHCR office, likely to arrest any North Koreans before they even make it in.
Wait, but then what's the point of having a South Korean embassy if the Chinese police officers are just going to arrest anyone who tries to get near there?
If you are lucky enough to get in, yes, the Chinese can't get you, as there's immunity within the embassy.
Oh.
But for how long? Even if South Korea approves your defection, you're going to have to leave the embassy at some point to get to a plane to fly to Seoul. So you're still going to have to set foot in China, and that's when the Chinese authorities can grab you. You don't want to end up in a situation like Julian Assange, the founder of WikiLeaks, who's now trapped indefinitely at the Ecuadorian embassy in London. Because of this, the next best option is
what? He's trapped in London? How does this work? Julian Assange. So basically, he had some diddling allegations against him, and so he went to a Ecuadorian embassy within London, and so he was safe in the building. But if he left the building, then the London police would be able to legally arrest him. And so he just lived inside the embassy. And wait, he had a partner, and he had 2 sons inside the embassy. Wait, so he just lived inside the embassy?
Because of this, the next best option is to somehow make your way to a third country that has close ties to South Korea and preferably minimal ties to North Korea, so you can freely get to an embassy without fear of arrest and repatriation. This is where Asia's Underground Railroad comes into play. This dangerous network of routes that takes you through China's underground is meant to lead to safe haven in Southeast Asia. But Southeast Asian countries have varying levels of commitment to North Korea. Vietnam, Cambodia, and Myanmar can be options for some, but the chances of deportation once caught are quite high.
I mean, the Cambodian flag literally looks the exact same as the North Korean flag. Like, they literally just copied the North Korean homework without changing anything a little bit.
Thailand, on the other hand, appears the safest option. North Koreans aren't given refugee status in Thailand, but the Thai government will deport them back to Korea. Not to North Korea, but to South Korea, where they'd be safe. In fact, many North Koreans will surrender themselves to the Thai police as soon as they cross the border into Thailand. The journey from China to Thailand isn't straightforward though. It's fraught with peril and uncertainty, and at any moment you can be caught by police who frequently stop buses and trains to check passports and identification. If they question you, your lack of Chinese or your heavy North Korean accent would give it away. Now, if you make it to the southern border, you have to go through Laos to get to Thailand. Laos, similar to China, isn't friendly to defectors, so it's too risky to cross near the border checkpoint. Instead, you have to detour through the Laotian jungle and mountainous terrain. If you're able to make it across Laos, well, you're almost there. The Mekong River is the final obstacle, and crossing that border, you've now made it to the relative safety of Thailand. The South Korean embassy should take care of the rest. Now, more treacherous than Asia's Underground Railroad may be escaping through the Gobi Desert to Mongolia. The Gobi Desert is a vast, barren region in northern China and southern Mongolia, known for its dunes, mountains, and temperature extremes.
Great, so we're gonna escape the beautiful weather of North Korea, the food that's there, the water that's there, and we're just gonna go to some random desert that just does not have any of the above. It's gonna be so hot, no food, no water. Is this really the way to do it?
With the occasional roaming snow leopards, bears, and wolves.
Well, okay, that's
not a place you want to cross.
That's pretty bad.
Despite this, the appeal of a much shorter journey to Mongolia makes it a legitimate option. Also, Mongolia, unlike some other Asian countries, has shown to be sympathetic towards North Korean refugees, often sending them straight to South Korea with minimal bureaucratic resistance. Over the years, however, tightened border control has made traveling the Gobi Desert route less common. So far, we've only talked about resettlement in South Korea, but defectors can also seek asylum in Western countries.
That's true.
Maybe through foreign embassies, the UNHCR, NGOs, or physically making the arduous trek to a country's border.
Or you could always come to Australia, you know, it's not that much of a trek. So you'll be in North Korea, you gotta go all the way down here, down through the sea. Actually, you can go by land. You can walk down here, down here, down here, go to Singapore, down here, and then finally you get to Australia. Actually, you know what? It's actually closer to go to Australia compared to like go to the US. But I think, yeah, Europe would probably be your best option if you wanted to go to like a Western country. Actually, you know what? It wouldn't. It's actually further away. Although it's on land though.
There are several reasons why a North Korean would choose a Western country over the guaranteed security of South Korea. It could be related to discrimination, life opportunities, or friends and family, just to name a few. There have actually been people from other countries who have pretended to be North Korean defectors in order to gain refugee status. So the vetting process is very strict. Sometimes a genuine North Korean defector will be wrongly accused of being a fraudster and get deported back to the country they think he's
from China.
And if that country is China, well, that's just cruel.
Yeah, because every Asian-looking person comes from China, right? Yeah, every Asian person is either a Chinese person, Japanese person, a Korean person. If like a white European person just sees me or like any other Asian people, do they assume that we're all from China?
As of now, there's somewhere between 1,000 to 2,000 North Korean refugees living in Europe. Belgium, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, and the UK are all reported to have small North Korean communities. The largest in Europe is in southwest London, with approximately 700 defectors. It should be noted that Great Britain has accepted more North Koreans than almost any other country,
even South
provided
Korea?
them with homes, financial support, and other social benefits. Trying to seek asylum in the US is always an interesting dynamic, as North Koreans are taught to regard the American imperialists as evil from a young age. They're North Korea's greatest enemy after all. Even though defectors are likely to harbor ill will towards their own government, it's hard to escape their propaganda that they've been exposed to all their lives. As such, many would rather seek asylum elsewhere. But then there are those who realize that if America is supposed to be the great enemy of the regime that they're escaping from, then they're probably safe there. There's one catch though. The processing time for the application can take up to several years, and with no stability, anything can happen during that time. One particular defector revealed he had made his way through Asia's Underground Railroad to Thailand. But when he found out the wait time could be years, he decided to hop on a boat to Argentina, trek through the South American terrain, then cross the Mexican border with a bunch of Mexicans. Today, he's a US.
Bro, why did he say like that? He crossed the Mexican border with a bunch of Mexicans. I mean, and I bet this probably took him like maybe like less than 1 year. Like it probably took him 9 months. And so it's faster than like the wait time like in America. You just illegally like immigrate into America through Mexico.
We don't have to illegally cross any borders for this next one. North Korea is notoriously known for its labor camps, where people live under insanely harsh working conditions. But it's not just within their own country that this happens. North Korea outsources its labor force to several other countries, including Poland and Russia. Russia has the largest North Korean workforce outside the DPRK when it comes to labor camps. People who are chosen to work in these camps, usually logging camps, live and work in remote regions of Russia's Far East. Squalid living quarters, inedible food, insane work hours, ridiculously minimal pay, often withheld pay, and fixed 10-year contracts are the norm in this wintry hellhole.
I mean, this sounds exactly like a Shein sweatshop as well.
Despite this, many North Koreans fight tooth and nail to be the ones selected to work overseas, to work as essentially slave laborers. This is because working in Russia, even under these conditions, can seem favorable to the misery back home. But there's another reason why. No heavily guarded borders, no landmines, you just have to escape from the labor camp. Of course, if it were that easy, we'd have a lot more defectors in the world. In order to qualify for these Siberian labor camps, you have to go through an extreme vetting process by the government. You have to be in good physical condition, you have to have a history of towing the party line, and this one's a biggie, you have to be married with children. Why? Hostages. If you escape, your wife and kids will suffer the consequences. You can imagine this is enough to keep most workers in line, but it's not foolproof. If you're able to trick party officials into getting the job and are able to later smuggle your family out of North Korea, you might have a chance.
Well, I mean, of course you're gonna have a chance if you manage to smuggle your family out of North Korea. But I mean, this is much easier said than done. Like, what do you mean if you're able to smuggle your family out of North Korea? Bro, do you understand how hard that would be? Like, what are they gonna do? Like, they're gonna get sent to labor camps as well, to the exact same labor camp? But honestly, I think this, like the labor camp method, I think this might be the best method. I think this might be the one that I would personally do, because compared to, you know, just traveling all over the world to try and get to these European countries, North Korea will give you a flight straight to like Russia, and then from there you can just use all your energy like to escape the labor camp.
Of course, you can always circumvent that last part by ditching your family altogether, and sadly this happens too often. To even put people in this situation is infuriating for many of us watching. But when you find out almost all the money that these workers earn gets sent back to Pyongyang to fund pointless nuclear projects and Kim Jong-un's life of luxury, it's too much. Finally, we get to the one that's different from all the rest. The last 6 were mainly directed towards North Koreans who were poor or had little to no social privileges. It's a completely different dynamic when it comes to the North Korean elite. They have security and stability, so defections are comparatively rare, but they still happen. It isn't the hunger or poverty that's the driving factor here, but intellectual freedom or political beliefs. Many of the privilege come from families working for the North Korean government, military, or state businesses abroad, and are therefore more likely to have unfiltered exposure to other cultures and their media.
What, so after scrolling TikTok for like 15 minutes, they decide, yeah, this is enough. America get to scroll TikTok like for 8 hours a day, but meanwhile in North Korea, like we're technically not even allowed the internet, and so that's enough for them to want to escape, even though they're like super rich in North Korea. Because the thing is, like when they go to a different country, they're gonna have to start from the bottom maybe. Like they won't be as rich in like a different country unless they somehow manage to like get all the money across. But I assume the North Korean banks might not like allow you to like, you know, shift your money across to a different country. And so basically these people are willing to give up their life of luxury simply for TikTok. Like that's all they want. They just want TikTok.
This exposure is still heavily restricted by the government and oftentimes illegal, but having money grants you access one way or another, and once your eyes are open to how the rest of the world lives, there may be no going back, especially for the emerging generation who are filled with unmatched ambition and drive. If you're of Pyongyang's elite and have decided to defect, it is so much easier. You have the funds to pay escape brokers to smuggle you out of the country. If you're caught by border security, you can bribe your way out. You can afford fake South Korean passports and IDs, so even if you're stopped by, say, Chinese police, you wouldn't look the part of an impoverished defector, especially with your blinged out appearance. You can also pay for flights instead of making your way through Asia's Underground Railroad or the Gobi Desert. Even better if you're a student who has the rare opportunity to travel or study overseas. Maybe you're an exchange student in Europe or representing North Korea in some sort of an international competition. This makes escaping a lot more straightforward. Of course, delegations traveling overseas are always kept on a tight leash, so you would still have to be extremely careful. Don't forget your family back home would also likely suffer if you escaped, so it's never that easy. If you're a North Korean diplomat who is stationed overseas, it's physically quite easy to escape. But as a result, it's policy to have to leave your children behind in Pyongyang when you are dispatched abroad.
Bro, does North Korea just assume that like everyone just secretly wants to escape? Like, I think that is the assumption. I think the assumption is that everyone just secretly wants to escape, and so therefore, like, all the policies are in place to prevent people from, you know, actually acting out like on that.
Fortunately for Tae Young-ho, North Korea's former deputy ambassador to Britain, he managed to convince the state to allow him to take his children and wife to London. Being a high-ranking member of the regime, he was granted this privilege.
And
with nothing holding him back, he was now able to defect to South Korea with his whole family.
He did?
Tae is the highest-profile North Korean defection in recent times and was a huge blow to the DPRK. After his escape, North Korean state media did what they always do. In an attempt to save face, and after denouncing him as human scum, they accused him of embezzling state funds, spying for money, and of course, raping a child.
What?
Tae has now dedicated his life to taking down Kim Jong-un and the North Korean regime. And this is really the only way to truly make your escape from North Korea, taking down the regime. As no matter what route you took or where you ended up, the North Korean government will always try and hunt you down.
So I guess the meta is to like be part of the North Korean like what is it, like the government, and become like a high-ranking politician and be so high-ranking that you're allowed to take your wife and children to a different country and then you just escape from there. Like, I assume from now on, no politician, no matter how high-ranking you are, no politician is allowed to take their wife and kids with them to a different country. Like, even this guy, he trusted him, but he escaped. The first moment he escapes. He's been waiting for this moment for how many years? How old do you think this guy is? He looks like 60 years old, maybe? He was waiting for this moment for 60 years. This is the 60-year plan. Instead of Eren Yeager's 100-year plan, 1,000-year plan, this guy had like a 60-year plan to escape North Korea. Who needs this video? North Koreans. Who cannot see this? North Koreans. Oh, okay, that's kind of sad. Like, the North Koreans, like, they could use this. They could use this information. But the issue is that, like, yeah, YouTube is most likely censored in North Korea.